Okay, I'm going to take you through the steps involved in setting up forms in the site. Forms are used to collect information for events or other activities that you want to receive input on. And so it's an important, very critical component of communicating with your congregation. And so it's critical that you have a clear understanding of how it works, how that this particular function works in the system. So I'm going to take you to the forms area, which is underneath planning. This is the clipboard icon. And you'll click over to forms. And when I click there, it'll take me to a list of forms that I've created. Now, there's several of them here that I've produced before. I will start with a new one. How about that? We'll do a new form. And click that new button, and it'll let me take a look at the settings for the form. So first off, of course, there's a name. You give the form a name. You can give a due date. This is the date that the form would close, so that after this date, no further input will be received. The form will be grayed out to where you can't put anything in it. You can put a description for it. This would be kind of a summary description that would display as kind of in the instructions of the form. And then a thank you message. This is the message that will show up when the person completes the form, and let them know that, hey, this is how your form is going to be processed. Thank you for submitting it. This is how things will go from here. All right, so this is a form I'm going to test around with, and I'm going to call this new member information form. All right, so we have a new member information form. There's no due date on it because we always want to get new members, and I'm going to say we would like to know more about you as a new member, period. And then we'll say, thanks for sharing. All right, so there we go. Thanks for sharing. One of our pastors will be in contact with you. So this is the form, the basic structure of it. You got new member information is the name of it. It's got a description on it, and it's got a thank you message. So before we go any further, I'm going to show you what that form looks like with no questions in it. So I'm going to go share. I click the share button. This will give me a link to the form that I can put on the website or send via email or post somewhere. So I'm going to copy that link and open it in a new window. Okay. So now you should see this is the form. There you go. No questions in it, just a basic form. I wanted to point out by going to this page, though, that when you first do the form, the system will request the full name of the person and their email address. That's basic detail that comes in. When that information is collected, the system will try to find a contact that matches the email address that was supplied. If it does not find one, it will create a new contact based upon that simple data that's provided in the form. But as you can see, the form's empty. We want to collect information for this new member, and I'm not going to fill out every possible thing we would collect. I'm just going to put a few things in there so that we can test this out. So we jump back over to the editor. All right, and I'm going to add some questions. So let's see the type of questions we want to capture for a new member. How did you find the church? And then you can write some detail here. You can give an order for this question. Let's say we want this to be the first question in the form. And then this is where it gets exciting. There are a number of types of questions you can assign. A number of question types that you can assign to a question. And they are as follows. You have your multiple select questions, which could either be, you have your multiple choice questions, which could either be multiple selection or single selection, meaning that you can either choose from multiple options where you choose multiple options, or you can choose from multiple options where you can only pick one. There's an email address field in case you want to pull that in. It formats the entry input to be an email form. A true-false question, a like, dislike, and a agree or disagree. That's one of those questions where it says indicate whether you fully agree or fully disagree on a scale. And then there's a short answer question, which is most likely where a lot of questions will be. There will be places for people to put a free-form answer, and so that's what short answer is. Free range rating is where you can put a question that says on a scale of from 1 to 10, how would you rate this particular thing? A file upload, where people can put a file up to the system. And then there's a date selector, so they can choose a date that they want to do something or put a birth date in. So in this case, I'm gonna make this actually a multiple choice. How did you find the church? Because we care about that at our church. We want to know how you found out about us. So I'm going to say internet. So this is where I choose multiple choice, single select, and I'm selecting what those options would be. So I'm going to say, I'm going to add an option. I'm going to make it the first option being internet, the second option being radio, the third option being television, in case you're doing a broadcast show. And then we'll put one on here for other. And I'm doing this on purpose because I want to show you something with regard to how you would do the ordering of questions. So now I have the question in there as how did you find out about us? I have this as a multiple choice with multiple options. I put them in order. And of course, my question is the first question in the form. And then down here, I'm going to select whether I want those options to display as letters or numbers. So it's going to be A, B, C, D versus 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to choose A, B, C, D as my kind of representation of the questions. And then I'm actually going to make this a required response, meaning that a person cannot continue with the form unless they tell us an answer to this. So I'm going to hit save, and I'm actually going to save and add another question. So that question's in my list now, and then I can add a new question. And this next question is going to be a follow-up to that previous one, which is going to say, if other, please indicate how. And then we'll choose this, you guessed it, as a short answer. And then it's going to be number 2. And I'm not going to make it required because they may not have selected other. So I'm not going to make it required. I'm going to save it though and add another one. So now I have those 2 questions there. And I want to say maybe just one more question. Have you been baptized? Go. And then I'm going to make this question 3. And I'm just going to make it a multiple choice to keep it really simple. We don't want people giving us a full explanation of this answer. Like, how they were baptized or anyway. So, yes and no. Of course, you have complete flexibility. I'm going to also make this letters. You have complete flexibility on how you put these questions. So you can ask how they were baptized and, how they felt about it when they were baptized. It's all on you. But I'm not doing that in this form. And then one more question. I'm going to say, what do we want to know about these new members? Please select the best day for a membership class. And then I'm going to put some detail here. Classes are generally held in the evenings. I don't know. This is a question. You could probably do it better than me, but this is just a test anyway. So I'm going to do, this is going to be a multiple choice, multiple select. And then here I'm going to say Mondays. And I'm not going to bore you with this. You get the picture. You understand what I'm doing. And I'm going to say 2, and then so on and so forth. Make that letters. Make it required. And I want to save it. I'm going to add no more, right? So now I have my questions in there. If I go and refresh the form, you will now see that I have a form that has some cool questions in it that have to be answered. So how'd you find out about us? If others, say this. And then, have you been baptized? And then, what's the best day for the membership class? And this one's one of those multiple select type things. So now, I have my questions, I have the form ready. The next thing I want to show you is workflow. In other words, what happens when the form is submitted? Let's go through and take a look at our workflows. All right. So workflows allow you to do a number of things once that form is submitted by the person. So I'm going to go in here and hit edit workflow. So you see here I have a bunch of different options here. I can send an email. I can send a text message. I can add the person to a group. So if I have a group of, prospective members, I would add this person to that group. And then I can also, let's say I want the person to go on and create an account in the system for me to communicate with them and then to receive updates. I can actually send out an invite to them asking them to register for our site. I can add a custom attribute. Say I have an attribute for people that filled out the form. That attribute would be added to their record. And then also, I can create a follow-up for one of our leaders to reach out to them and say hello or keep up with them. So those are all the different options you can choose. I'm not going to go into each one of these, but I will just kind of at least check them all so you can so I can speak to them. In the send an email, you would select a template from the system that you've created, an email that you've saved off in the communication area. You would choose that template, and that will be the email that goes out. Now, of course, you know that there's places in that template for you to put placeholders like first name and last name. If you put that in there, then the contact that the email goes to will be referenced in those fields. So you would, if you choose to send the email out, you can either choose to send it to people that are in the system, or you can choose to send it to the contact that submitted the form. And of course, you can add a subject line to that. And a text message can also be sent. Say, for example, you want one pastor to be alerted whenever anyone fills out this new member form. Pastor Jones needs to know that, Betsy just filled out the form to be a new member. He gets a text message. He's on it. He logs into the system. He checks out the form, and he follows up with Betsy. Adding a group, pretty straightforward. You just select the groups, and they'll go to them. Invite to group, very straightforward. You just select the group. It'll invite them to that group. Add the attribute. You select the attributes to be added. And in selecting the attribute, you would also specify the value for that attribute. But you don't have to specify a value. This just gives you an option to do that when you create the record for the person when they submit the form. And then lastly, create a follow-up. And then in the create follow-up, you would specify who the person is. And you would specify how often they should follow up with them, every other week until an end date. And then you would select an end date for those bi-weekly follow-ups. All right. Let's just say I save all that. Oh, it says the SMS message cannot be empty. So I need to go to SMS and I say, and then the new member form. All right, there we go. Oh, an email template must be selected. Maybe I shouldn't have selected all these things because it's making me fill out everything. Matter of fact, I'm not going to do all this. I think you get the gist of it. So that's how the follow-up happens. The idea being that when you go in and you create the form, you definitely want to have a workflow, because otherwise what happens is people fill out the form and no one's notified, and a person would have to go in periodically to check the list of responses to see who submitted it. I'm going to show you how that works just so you're aware of it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go back to my form and I'm going to fill it out. And then I found out about this through the internet. And then I'm going to say yes. And then I'm going to say Tuesdays. Submit. Do you want to submit this form? Yes, I do. thank you. Thanks for sharing. One of our pastors will be in contact with you. Remember I said that there was that thank you message. This is the thank you message. I say, okay. And if there was a workflow attached to this form, that workflow would be triggered. An email would go out, or a text message would go out, or whatever you selected, that would happen once that form is submitted. And I'm going to show you real quickly as we close out this review. I'm going to refresh this page, and you'll see where my responses are. So let this refresh. The internet takes its time here. And now I have a new response to the form. Response is 1. And I have an option of generating a report. Let's say 120 people filled out this form. I can generate the response report and see that in a spreadsheet. Or I can just view the data. So here I just see that John Doe filled out the form. And here's the date that he can go to membership class. He found out about the church through the internet. And he has been baptized. And another note to make is that I can go to my people. And let's say I want to take a look at John Doe. Just go here to people. Now filter John Doe. There he is. John Doe. And of course, there's no information about him because the form itself only collected the first name and the email address, right? And so, this just allows you to have a record, a tracking record. If there was a follow-up created, it would show up here. So I would see the follow-ups. I would see who the person is that has a follow-up with them, and so on and so forth. So that's how forms work. I hope that's clear. In another video, I'm going to show you how to create short links so that you're not sending this massive, confusing link to people. And then in that same discussion, I'm going to talk about how to use your SMS function to have people be able to send a text to your number and then get a link to the form to fill it out.